Good morning, everybody. Jane Monreal here with you at 9 o'clock Thursday morning, winding down to the weekend here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Well, last night, the president did address the nation, mostly on the update on Operation Epic Fury with the war in Iran. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez filing this report after that address here for NBC News on WCNC+.
Declaring the war with Iran a massive military success.
Tonight, I'm pleased to say that these core strategic objectives are nearing completion.
Among those objectives, he says, destroying Iran's Navy and missile program, as well as preventing the regime from building a nuclear bomb.
We are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong.
A U.S. official telling NBC News the military checklist for the war is almost complete. Overnight, Iran responding to the president, saying the U.S. has not destroyed key targets, adding, assuming they have, will, quote, only deepen the quagmire in which you have trapped yourselves, and warning the U.S. to expect more forceful, broader, and more destructive actions from us. Iran has also said it won't open the Strait of Hormuz for the U.S., blocking the critical global shipping lane. The president increasingly frustrated with global allies who have been reluctant to join the war and help protect the passageway.
The countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it.
Also predicting the strait will open when the conflict is over.
It'll just open up naturally.
Overnight, global markets fell sharply, rattled by the uncertainty. All of it coming amid rising gas prices here at home and growing skepticism over the conflict. Yesterday, in a speech to faith leaders at the White House, the president saying the federal government needs to focus on the military while discussing fraud and funding for domestic programs, which he says states should run.
We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. It's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing: military protection.
The White House posting, then removing the speech, which was closed to the press. The remarks coming as the president is also pressuring Republicans to end the partial government shutdown. While TSA officers are now getting paid, easing those long airport lines. Overnight, GOP leaders in the House and Senate announcing a deal that would fund the Department of Homeland Security, except ICE and Customs and Border Protection, key sticking points where Democrats want reforms.
And that was Gabe Gutierrez for NBC News. Back here at home, the Fort Mill business, Silfab Solar, which has been the focus of a lot of controversy, especially as of late, having to shut down its operations last month for a couple of days near the schools, now facing a lawsuit. Our Richard Devane filing that report. He was on WCNC Plus earlier this morning.
Good Thursday morning, folks watching us on the Plus. Basically, we're back in York County, back in front of Silfab, but this is not people who want the company to move out or shut down productions. It's another company locally that wants Silfab Solar to pay up. Now, that company's taking legal actions against Silfab Solar over unpaid work. Rock Hill Industrial Piping and Fabrication says it did piping work at Silfab's Fort Mill facility starting in September of 2025. The company says it sent 2 invoices totaling nearly $79,000. But as of yet, it hasn't been paid, even after multiple requests. In the lawsuit, the company claims Silfab broke its contract, failed to pay a clear debt, and benefited from the work without paying for it. This all comes as Silfab has already faced controversy here in York County. Residents have raised safety concerns for years about the plant's location near homes and a nearby school, and recent chemical spills have led some officials, as well as residents, to call for the facility to shut down completely. Now, Rock Hill Industrial Piping is asking for the full amount, plus interest and the legal costs. Now, Silfab, for its part, has 30 days to respond. If not, a judge could rule in favor of the company automatically. Of course, this is something that we're going to be looking into, and when whatever happens, we'll let you know every step of the way. Right now, we're in York County. This is Richard Devane. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
Back to yesterday's address from the president. Of course, we have a couple of local pundits that weigh in and help us out here. One of them being the Catawba College professor of political science, Michael Bitzer. He joined our Lisa Washington and Ben Thompson earlier on WCNC Plus, doing a debrief after yesterday's address. Let's go ahead and play this for you again on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Joining us this morning, Dr. Michael Bitzer, political science professor over at Catawba College, joining us with some new insight, new polling about how folks here in North Carolina are feeling about the handling of this war. We should say this was taken before the speech last night, right, of course. But in a new Catawba YouGov poll, Mr. Trump's approval rating is down 42%, with 55 down to 42% with 55% disapproval. That's the widest gap you guys have seen in the last year. Do we know why?
Well, I think it is very much fitting into the classic midterm election environment. We know that the midterms are oftentimes driven by the approval or disapproval of the president, and usually voters have buyer's remorse from the presidential election. They go into the midterm and they say, you know what, I'm just not happy with the party in power, and that means that it's the president's party. And so I think that that gap outside the margin of error really does show over the past year how North Carolina has been trending. It's very similar to the national dynamics. We're not as against the president as it is nationally, but these numbers do show some kind of unhappiness amongst the voters.
So let's talk specifically now about this conflict in Iran. Airstrikes are one thing, right? But when you talk about ground troops, that's very different. We know that North Carolina has a number of military bases, and its voters are opposed to having those troops on the ground there in Iran. In fact, your poll found that 58% against that, only 18% in support. Why the big difference?
Well, I think certainly the case has not been made. I mean, we're a month into this military conflict. The president has articulated a number of reasons, but when it comes to actual boots on the ground, I think North Carolinians really do feel that that is a step that needs to be justified. You know, the launching of military weapons, the missiles, all of that is kind of in the abstract. When you start to see boots on the ground, and in particularly when casualties start to come out of it. I think that that's the reason for that 40-point gap. And in fact, among Republicans, if you look at that chart, they are very much also against it, but it's very close. Democrats and independents, they tend to follow the same dynamic, very much opposed to it, but it's almost evenly split among Republicans.
How much of this do you think is the actual war itself, or the fact that you touched on there's not a clear plan, or it appears there's been several plans? Because I mean, you found that only 36% said that the president has set out a clear plan, while a third said he has no plan at all.
None at all. And so I think that this is part of the messaging campaign. I think White Houses, when they go into a major conflict with another nation on the military basis, they need to have a clear objective and a clear rationale. And I don't think that that has necessarily been painted. You'll see, among Democrats and particularly independents, they are saying that the president doesn't have a clear plan. Not surprisingly, Republicans are saying he does have a clear plan. So there is this deep partisan division and divide within North Carolina. I think it reflects national dynamics as well.
So there is the ongoing conflict in Iran, but there are still other wars happening across the world. Something interesting of note here, that North Carolina seemed more supportive of helping Ukraine than Israel.
Yeah.
So what do you think is drawing the distinction there?
That was really a fascinating finding out of this survey. I think certainly Ukraine is still in the news. It's still prevalent. It has been the longest conflict that we've seen now, but there's still a good deal of support for the Ukrainian efforts, both financially and militarily. When it comes to Israel, it's a little bit less, and the division is, again, within the partisan camps. Both sides are looking at this very intently, but a lot of it is driven by the president as well.
When you take all these numbers together, when you talk about the president's approval rating, the skepticism about the war in Iran, and soft numbers for both parties, I mean, what message do you think North Carolina voters are trying to send to folks up on Capitol Hill?
Well, I think certainly for the party in power, they are saying you need to revisit what you're doing and make it clear to us back here in North Carolina what the purpose of this war is, what the dynamics are going to be, and also potentially recognize the economic situation that it's presenting as well. I think that a lot of Republicans are going to be confronting a fairly stiff headwind come November, and if you're laying the groundwork now, 6 months out, that's going to present a real challenge as you go into the true fall campaign.
So we're talking about the midterms, we're getting toward that, but do you think that this reaction is just temporary because of this moment and foreign policy right now, or is this something that has more deeper meaning?
I think if the war with Iran continues on for the next several weeks, if not months, this is really going to harden public opinion in North Carolina, I think nationally, and it's really not going to be to the benefit of Republicans moving forward. I think that they have to look at the president to say, you need to come up with an exit strategy at some point that makes sense, that doesn't seem like capitulation, but still make the effort on economics, because foreign policy may drive a lot of economic dynamics, but ultimately at the ballot box, it's the presidential approval and what people think about the economy that drives a lot of voters' decision making.
I was going to say things like gas prices, what I'm saying for groceries, are the reasons that many people say they're going to vote.
Exactly.
All right.
Let's talk about the Supreme Court, because they heard oral arguments yesterday when it comes to birthright citizenship. For years, you have heard conservatives like, I think, Antonin Scalia, Clarence Thomas, Alito on the court right now, make arguments for what they call strict constructionist. I'm not a legal scholar by any means, but the idea that the words are there in the document. You don't interpret it.
Right.
The case I heard yesterday among some conservatives is, in this case, there should be some interpretation, because what they meant back then is not what they mean now. Do I sense a difference now?
Well, Well,
it seems to be different.
It seems to be different, and the words do matter. You know, in the 14th Amendment, it says all persons.
Right.
It does not differentiate whether, you know, you are born one way or the other in this regard. But what we have also found, particularly here in North Carolina, this issue of birthright citizenship is the most divisive principle of American democracy between Democrats and Republicans. Republicans do not believe that if you are born on American soil, you necessarily automatically get citizenship endowed upon you. Democrats and independents say yes, that citizenship is there because of the language in the Constitution. So I think, you know, whatever the Supreme Court comes up with, I listened to some of the arguments. It sounded like the conservatives were very skeptical of some of the legal theories and bases that the government was presenting to say, are we going to overturn past precedent? Are we going to overturn 100 years worth of jurisprudence on this particular issue? We'll just have to wait and see what the opinion holds.
And I think we have to say that the Constitution does not say that this was specifically for the children of freed slaves.
Right.
That is not in the Constitution.
Right.
And also talk about the president being there. That's just the first time for a sitting president to hear these oral arguments. What do you make of that? I mean,
we are in a presidential administration and term that has broken so many norms of American democracy and American government. I wasn't surprised by that, but it is notable to see the chief executive visiting the high court, hearing the arguments made on behalf of his administration, and then getting up and walking out before the opposition had their chance to present as well. Whether it was an intimidation factor, whether he was just interested in it, I don't know.
Professor, we always appreciate your insights.
My
and
pleasure.
your new polling as well.
Thank you.
Keep us posted.
thanks for coming
Yeah,
in.
my pleasure.
More WCNC Plus after this.
At 9:15, we're going to take a break. On the other side, Majestic Storm talking about the weather as we go to the holiday weekend on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back here now at 9:17 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Wow, traffic is so much lighter than I'm used to. Majestic Storm here in the Live Impact studio. I know you were covering traffic earlier on WCNC Charlotte, but now switching over to weather, and I love to see the sunrise on my way in. So everything So far, so good heading in.
Good. I think I need to bring my microphone over.
Oh, please! I was wiping down.
Hold on, everyone.
Because we had
There
we had a
go.
lot of guests in here yesterday.
Yeah. Big day yesterday.
A big day with Artemis and etc. But they're all gone. So it's housekeeping before and then housekeeping after.
Yes. Did you guys already talk about, did you see the launch? Did you already?
We did not talk about it.
No, I did not watch the launch.
I'm going to do the rewatch
Yeah.
of the
And
launch.
working in news, you'll see it replayed multiple times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was counting on that. So.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's why I'm like I will see it. It was cool though. You saw it.
It was cool. Yes, I saw. I was excited. I was outside eating in Plaza Midwood, just like at a restaurant.
Nice.
And the place had all these TV screens around, and I wasn't keeping track of time. But then the people were like, change the channels from like sports to all of a sudden every single TV had the rocket launch, and
Oh,
you could
very
hear
good.
what they were saying and everything. And everyone was really intrigued. It was one of those moments where everyone was quiet, paid attention, saw what was going on.
Stop
I'm like,
what you're
that's kind of cool.
doing.
It was one of those
Yes.
moments for me where it's like you kind of get chills,
Yeah.
especially as a meteorologist, science is
sure.
just so fun.
Yeah.
Fun for me.
And back in 72, 53 years ago, that's a generation or two ago.
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and TV wasn't like it was, and the pictures aren't so
Yeah.
crisp, and to have,
and the kids watching. I
people
liked
watching.
that. I think all of us, we were intrigued. We're like, wow, this is really happening. But even little kids who weren't really aware of what was going on, them just watching and seeing them go up and learn about it. I have a nephew. His name is Orion, which of course Orion capsule
Okay.
is going up there.
Yeah.
Do you know how cool today is? And I called him, and he's 10, prime time age.
Right.
So he's watching it now. I'm like, this is 10 days. You got to
This is
stay
This is your
up to
namesake.
date.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome. Well, weather again off to a good start. It looks like Majestic.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. Another warm, sunny day today. We're holding on to warm conditions still. Yesterday was kind of a tricky day because we actually had a few isolated thunderstorms pop up in the mountains, and it's just starting to become that time of the year where it warms up. We have the warmth, we have a little bit of humidity, and then you have those afternoon random stray showers or even an isolated thunderstorm. We saw that, and today we think it's just going to stay nice and dry and sunny, a little humid though. And again, when we mention the humidity right now, I mean, it's early April. We're not talking about it being extremely noticeable, but you may just notice it a little early in the morning, a little late in the day if you're paying attention. If not, then you may not even notice it. Friday looking nice, staying warm. We do have some rain chances moving in then, and then Easter weekend. I know lots of people, you have your eyes on the forecast because, well, you want to do something. Maybe you want to do something with your family. You want to go to church. You want an Easter egg hunt. Maybe you were hoping to have brunch outside with some friends. And we do have rain. We're going to stick with what's going on now, and then we'll focus on those rain chances. Right now, 50s and 60s, pretty comfortable, 67 degrees here in the Queen City, just after 9:20 this morning. And you can see our afternoon forecast. It looks perfect. Conditions are going to be nice, a nice mix of sun and clouds now, clearing conditions into the afternoon. Daytime highs, 84 degrees. My mom's coming to visit, and she hasn't even brought out any of her spring or summer clothes. I'm like, make sure you bring some clothes that are not parkas. She lives in Washington, so it's a nice little treat for her to come to some nice weather. 84 degrees today, 82 tomorrow, still holding on to those low 80s by Saturday. So staying warm for the next 3 days. And I mean, relatively speaking, we don't have cold days ahead. You'll just notice that drop in temperatures because at this point we're well above our average. We should be into the upper 60s. And then even by Monday, I mean, 67 degrees will be our high, 65 on Wednesday. It'll just feel different when your body starts getting used to those 80-degree temperatures. As we're looking at our pollen count, still not looking great. Still lots of yellow everywhere, and you can see Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're in between high and very high levels. So yes, we got to keep on doing what we need to do to help to aid in that allergy relief. So taking your allergy meds or making sure you're rinsing off and showering off. I know some good rain would be helpful. Just a nice washing of everything. I mean, our ground needs it. We have been talking about how dry everything is. Big weather story over the last several weeks has been the fire danger because of the dry conditions, the low humidity, the gusty winds. So yes, we need the rain, and the good news here is we're heading into the first week of April now is that we have some rain chances heading our way. Small chances on Friday, 20% chance. So similar to yesterday, how it's one of those random pop-up showers or a random pop-up storm. Much of the same on Saturday. On Sunday, though, we've increased those overall rain chances, 80%. So we need the rain, but then again, it's Easter Sunday, and maybe you were hoping for a nice, beautiful Sunday. Can't always help you with the timing. Next week, we're drying things out. So let's walk you through the futurecast. We're going to start with today. So here's 5 o'clock tonight. I think it's going to be beautiful. Such a nice afternoon and evening. It is going to be sunny and warm. Heading into tomorrow for Friday, 8 o'clock in the morning, a little more cloud coverage on your way into work. Also, we'll be watching for some scattered rain showers. This is 8 o'clock. Notice where the rain is. It's going to be very scattered. I mean, almost unpredictable where the rain is going to be coming down, but it'll be warm and we'll have a little moisture in the air, which ultimately helps with those rain chances. 6 o'clock for our Friday evening. Looks pretty nice across the Charlotte metro area. You can see possibly a couple of isolated storms firing off well to the east of us. Saturday morning, if you have plans, maybe you were hoping to head out to a farmer's market or you're going to the Charlotte FC game on Saturday. For the most part, I think really, again, Saturday is nice, more sunshine, 80-degree temperatures. The focus truly is going to be on Sunday. And I'll tell you what, our models, of course, they're not all agreeing. They hardly ever all agree. Right now, our satellite radar looks like this. I mean, gorgeous weather across the Carolinas. Doesn't matter if you're in North Carolina, South Carolina, if you're in the mountains, the cities, over towards the beach. We have beautiful Thursday weather. Look to the west of us, though. There's that strong system that's starting to develop. And that system there is going to eventually head eastward. And as it does so, it'll bring in some wet conditions as we're heading towards our Sunday. Let's break down the timing of Sunday's rain event. 8 o'clock in the morning, looks like mainly we're going to be waking up to cloudy conditions, mild temperatures. I mean, this is not going to be a cold rain. It's just going to be a little gray and gloomy, and then we'll eventually get the rain. Latest models today are showing that the rain starts to move in by about noon for us. At this point, it's becoming more widespread. So if you're an early riser, for your Sunday, I think you have a good chance of avoiding the rain, but the longer you wait, the better the chance will be that you'll be impacted by the rain. By 1 o'clock, I think we have rain just about all over our viewing area. Remember, this is that front that's continuing to track eastward. 3 o'clock, still we're seeing rain from the mountains into Charlotte, and then heading towards the beach too. Sunday night, 9 o'clock, I'm not saying this is going to be heavy, widespread rain all throughout the day. It's not a downpour, but we've been mentioning that we need consistent rain, kind of just that light rain that turns into a drizzle persistently for hours. That's what we need. And it seems like Sunday could give us just that. So here's the thing. If you have any plans for your Sunday, I would suggest getting out sooner than later if you have anything to do on Sunday. And if you're going to do something later in the day on Sunday, keep the rain gear handy. Rain chances are there on Sunday across the Carolinas. A lot of our models are indicating that we'll pick up about 1/4 of an inch to about 3/4 of an inch. You can kind of tell areas shaded in green. Hopefully we can pick up 1/4 of an inch. Not a ton of rain, but again, we'll take what we can get. Easter weekend forecast, 81 degrees on Saturday. It is going to be warm. It's going to be nice. Just watch for those clouds that become tall, those big kind of isolated clouds. Those are the ones that will all of a sudden trigger a quick downpour, an isolated storm. We saw that yesterday. Remember, those just need warmth. They need humidity. That creates instability, ultimately just storm fuel. And yesterday with those storms that popped up, and this could happen on Saturday, they produced hail. We saw hail come out of a couple of those storms, and we got a picture in where somebody was actually shoveling it. Totally random, but makes sense because we're officially in April. Sunday will be the day where you need to be ready for all of that rain. Remember, we're still seeing our peak pollen totals for tree pollen. We don't even start to see grass pollen until really May to June. That's when it starts to peak, and then eventually weeds. So we're in the thick of things right now. Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast, 3 days in a row of 80-degree temperatures. So while it's not perfectly dry for the most part, I'm not too concerned. If I have outdoor plans, I will be okay okay if all of a sudden we have an isolated shower or isolated thunderstorm. No severe weather threat. The impactful weather will be Sunday, be coming in as rain, and then behind that, notice those temperatures, they do drop a little bit, mainly into the 60s and 70s, but at least we will have sunshine, and at least our overnight lows are not dropping down into the 30s, at least some 40s by next week, so not too terribly bad.
Okay, so timing though on Sunday, would you say for some of these sunrise services that are planned, people are like waiting to the last possible moment to make the contingency plan to bring it inside.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about that?
Right now, as of today, it's showing that it's going to take a little bit longer. So a sunrise service, we should be good to go. I think we'll have cloudy skies, but I think the rain starts to move in by mid-morning and into the afternoon.
Okay.
And then pretty steady after that. I mean, it's going to be a wave of rain that starts to rain, and once it starts, then it's going to keep on going.
Yeah.
But again, it's not heavy downpour rain. It's just kind of rain that we need that might just be a little bit of an inconvenience.
Then, yeah, I mean, for sure we need that. I'm just like,
I know.
everybody's Sunday's best.
Yeah.
Might be Sunday's wettest, sunny. Yeah.
Yes.
Sunday soggy.
Yes.
All right, well, very good. And we'll welcome your mom. And are you going to do anything special with moms?
We're going to do all the Charlotte things, all the little things that I've found here over the last year. I've been here
okay.
officially a year.
A year now?
Yeah.
Good.
So just take
You're
her to all my
doing it.
favorite spots. She's never been to the Carolinas.
Awesome.
She's never even seen the East Coast, so I'm excited to show
Oh,
her.
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Well, that'll
yeah.
be fun. All right.
She has a long I almost said road trip, not a road trip, long flight today. It's like,
Oh,
I
she's
think
flying today.
9 hours across.
Yeah, well, Washington.
Yeah. It'll be
All
worth
right,
it.
well, we'll welcome Mom, and thank you, Majestic. Appreciate
Of course.
that. And we'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back at 9:31 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. NCDOT board members meet about once a month or so. They have a monthly meeting this morning. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
First place news. And our first place Western Region goes to Division 12. That's Richmond Pocket, Clarksburg.
I got any new support numbers. Nobody's gonna support them. I don't know.
There you go.
I'm coming.
How many divisions you in, Stephen?
14.
Literally, all of them. It broke the mold. Now for our best overall, our runner-up goes to Division 7 with Preston Cone Flowers, Biden's Beds, as well as Cosmos Picaratus.
See, I go to support you in the abuse I take.
Here at 9:33, we're going to bring you back here now for some affiliate coverage with NBC News out of San Francisco because an earthquake has just hit the area. We're going to go to the NBC affiliate now with their live coverage here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's listen in.
Boulder Creek early this morning on Bear Creek Road, and then which turns into Highway 9 to get into the downtown area. We did see a couple of small rock slides, nothing that you couldn't drive around or drive through for that matter, but it's not clear if those were caused by the overnight rain, which is not unusual here, or if that was from, again, the magnitude 4.6. Unfortunately, we have no reports of damage as of yet. We're not expecting that. So it sounds like this is more a type of event that just woke up a lot of people. Woke up my daughter who lives with us at our home in Livermore, but my wife and I slept through it. And we also know that there's reports of people feeling as far away as Santa Rosa, as far east as Modesto. Absolutely. Reporting live here in Boulder Creek, Bob Riddell, Today in the Bay.
A lot of people feeling it. Thank you, Bob.
Let's turn now to USGS Caltech seismologist Robert DeGroot joining us live once again this morning. I know you were up very early with us. So talk about this latest fault line if we know where this earthquake hit. And boy, so many people felt it.
Yes, all over the region. And we know that alerts were delivered across the entire part of the Bay Area. And as far as the fault goes, it was just west of the San Andreas Fault, but it still takes a little bit of time to figure out exactly where it was. We have hundreds of faults in California, but the great news is that the shake alert system was able to alert people to take that protective action before the heaviest shaking arrived.
And that's the thing, that alert, getting people updated of what's happening, just preparing them, giving them that warning. What should people be mindful of? Because, look, this happened in the middle of the night. A lot of people were asleep. Luckily, this was not a stronger earthquake. But what should people be mindful of? Because it can happen at any time.
Absolutely, yes. And the key words are situational awareness, knowing where you are and how you would respond. I mean, we are all looking for, everywhere we go, for just being careful about where we are and what to do. And with earthquakes, if you're in bed, the best advice is just to stay in bed, flip over on your stomach, cover your back of your head with your pillow. You want to really protect your organs. The one thing that we tell people not to do is to try to get up and go somewhere like to the doorway or whatever, that, to protect themselves, because we know that people get injured the most during earthquakes if they try to move while there's shaking going on.
You gave us a great explanation earlier why it would take a tremendous amount of earthquakes this size to kind of lessen the impact of perhaps a greater one. We're always saying the big one is coming. But what's interesting as well is we haven't had any aftershocks, but they could still come.
That's absolutely true. And so we have about a 27% chance of having a magnitude 3 earthquake, a very small, less than 1% chance of having a magnitude 5 or magnitude 6 earthquake. So really what people may feel from this event are just the smaller magnitude 3 events. But we have so many earthquakes in California. I mean, there have been several throughout the state since this earthquake happened at 1:41 a.m. We have like 50 earthquakes a day in California.
And what happens next with the USGS as far as, looking over that area? How do you all move forward?
So one thing we continue to do as the Shake Alert Earthquake Early Warning System was activated, we're always monitoring ways to improve the system. The system is always improving, so we look at each individual earthquake to see the response of the system so we can improve how we do alerting. We also work with the people who actually deliver the alerts. So many people received an alert from, say, from MyShape, for example, and they are our partner and they deliver the alerts based on data from the USGS. And then our larger community of earthquake scientists who are working along many different areas will continue to monitor the area and try to understand sort of how seismicity is evolving in that area.
Well, we appreciate what you do and all the information that you provide to the community.
Thank you.
That was Caltech seismologist Robert DeGroot joining us. We've been sending out breaking news alerts all morning long. If you're not receiving them, you can scan this QR code on your screen right to the bottom left right now. It'll take you to our app store to download the NBC Bay Area News app. Stay up to date with alerts as well as our live streaming coverage.
President Trump addressed the nation last night to update America.
All right, we'll take it back out here now as they move on from earthquake coverage and get you back to live impact news in just a couple of minutes here on WCNC Plus. Here at 9:40, back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, we return to the NCDOT monthly board meeting happening live right now on Live Impact News.
Doing the Helene repairs, doing repairs on a daily basis, responding to the ice and snow. So it's a great chance to speak to the engine or our maintenance engineering teams. Went to the Carolina Association of General Contractors workshop, also in Asheville. And CAPA, Carolina's Asphalt Pavement Association meeting in Pinehurst. And then finally, the ITS Southeast Summit in Charlotte. That was a great gathering of state transportation officials, private sector consultants, and then academics as well that are all looking at kind of innovations in transportation. This is the group that's really driving transportation innovation and implementation of that innovation on our road system. So it's great to see all those groups together. Great to see all those people come together, have an opportunity to collaborate on new ideas, drive new ideas, to build relationships. I think some of what happens at those conferences isn't just in the technical sessions and the trainings that are going on, but in those 15-minute, 30-minute breaks or lunches or dinners after, where people that are busy with their day-to-day work are having a chance to kind of collaborate and have those conversations kind of offline and build those relationships that are essential. North Carolina is a leader in transportation. I think the only way we remain a leader is through continued collaboration with our industry partners and others who are interested in transportation issues. Speaking of those, one of our strong relationships is with, in addition to industry partners, is with our academic partners and the university research programs that we participate with. An example of that, I got a chance to kind of see it firsthand this month, going to North Carolina A&T to see their smart intersection test facility. They unveiled this intersection in March, and it was through a partnership with North Carolina A&T, the city of Greensboro. It's a really fascinating innovation that they're delivering. And I think a lot of people here had the opportunity to visit NCAT, visit their engineering, research, and innovation complex, where they're focused on infrastructure, cybersecurity, data science, and connected vehicle systems. They continue to just kind of really drive innovation there. This particular innovation is innovation in signal management. So what it's doing, it's communicating. It'll help facilitate communication. It's kind of monitoring all traffic coming through this intersection, all vehicles, pedestrians, cyclists, anything coming through that intersection. It's using a variety of technologies that have been installed to kind of monitor the flow of traffic. And what the research is intended to solve for is looking at congestion management, reducing crashes, and supporting faster emergency response. So I'm excited to see where this leads. I think they'll get some great results from that project that they're implementing, and we'll see it kind of replicated across the state. And I think we'll see that continue to see that group drive innovation in their other ways. And while we're pushing on innovation and working with our partners, we're still laser focused on recovery in the West. As we all know, we've shown impressive recovery efforts and dedication to rebuilding Western North Carolina over the past year and a half. We've done a tremendous amount of work. A lot of hard work remains on the major corridors, but I want to share a few key updates that we've had and some of our accomplishments we've gotten to date. As you'll see in the slide, we've reopened section of US 64 heading into Bat Cave from Hendersonville. So Chuck has an easier path to get to Bat Cave from Hendersonville. And so that area has been open to local traffic only, but it's now open to general traveling public. There's still some limits. There's still some reconstruction operations going on and rebuilding the roads. So the traffic pattern is not completely finalized, but we're working on getting there. It's great to see that open up ahead of the summer season and the tourist season, so people can access that area. In the same area, we held a productive community meeting with the Chimney Rock, town of Chimney Rock, on March 18th. At that meeting, we revealed preliminary designs for the permanent replacement and roundabout that will connect US 6474A to the South Side Drive and Chimney Rock State Park. Those designs were largely driven by a 2025 public meeting, and the local residents as well received the design that we came up with. They're excited about that project and getting it delivered. Also have a couple of updates on I-40, and not just in the Pigeon River Gorge. I was able to pass this a couple times on my travels to Asheville this month, but we've got a lot of work going on addressing the slide that happened on I-40 going from Old Fort up to Black Mountain. It's not the slide during Helene was a major slide. It's not the only time we've had slide there, but we've currently got 3 projects ongoing at that location. One's for paving, one's for drainage, and one's for slope repair and stabilization. These contracts are underway, and they're slated to be completed sometime between the spring and the fall, depending on weather. As for the major damage site in the gorge, reconstruction work is ramping up at a high rate. We've got 250 workers on site each day reconstructing Interstate 40 through the Pigeon River Gorge. We got crews working on 24 hours, 7 days a week schedule, with night crews working on backfilling behind walls, forming concrete, and preparing for the next day's operations. Those crews will stay on this schedule through the construction season with a targeted accelerated completion date of late 2028. For those who didn't see the social media post, Communications put together a video I'd like to share with you marking the 1.5 years since Helene. So I thank the comms team for putting that together just to commemorate the 1.5-year video, show the progress that we're making there. That kind of that kind of recovery, that kind of progress doesn't happen without a tremendous amount of coordination, dedication, a lot of hard work, and focus on kind of the task at hand. We've got great coordination between our crews, our contractors and partners, and the communities that we're serving. What I hope underlines all of this project and all of our projects across DOT is safety. Safety is embedded in everything we do, and improving our culture of safety is one of the key focus areas for the department. In every project, from design to construction, the safety of the public is always top of mind, but just as important, safety of the employees doing that work. Yesterday, we announced the Safety Stand-Up Day, a time for our department to pause and reflect and recommit to the values that keep us safe and prepared. Our message to employees is clear. Safety isn't just about following procedures. It's about culture and commitment to one another. We need to make sure that everybody's looking out for one another, holding each other accountable, and making sure that everybody goes home safely at the end of the day. Safety Stand-Up Day gave us an opportunity to reinforce that mindset and encourages our teams to continue building habits where safety becomes second nature and top of mind in everything that they're doing. At the same time, we're not just relying on our people to drive the culture of safety. We're also looking at ways we can innovate and drive safety. One example of that is how we're using technology to support safety in the field. To help reinforce safety, our team has introduced, to help reinforce these safety practices, our team has introduced the Field Platform. This tool is used before projects begin to help them identify risk and plan accordingly. There's a video we've got that can do a much better job explaining how the field works than I can, so we'll go ahead and play that video.
Safety is the main part of our job.
It's also the #1 priority of the North Carolina Department of Transportation. It's why, before a day's work begins, crews have a safety meeting.
First thing, walk through, we just really thoroughly check our surroundings.
Typically, with a pen and paper, employees write down any hazards.
We've never tried anything quite like this before.
But now, NCDOT has introduced Field, an AI tool.
It's real time, it's real life, and we're trying to protect our most important asset, which is our employees.
I have traffic on us.
An AI hazard detection pilot program was introduced in mid-2025 to some department employees, including Eric Lewis with Pamlico County Maintenance.
Other hazards. And then we'll just pull up things that it didn't pick up that we might want to go over with our guys.
With an iPad, Lewis can take a picture or short video and upload it to the app. Within seconds, the tool lists multiple hazards Lewis and his crew need to be aware of.
I don't really want to miss anything for them, so it's nice knowing that that'll catch if I miss something.
The one thing I've really noticed is there's more communication. People are talking about what they see.
Safety and Risk Management Director Robin Barfield is happy with what he is hearing and seeing so far.
This takes our program to a new level. We're the first DOT in the country to do this type of work.
Since the tool was implemented, Barfield says he has seen a spike in the number of employees reporting power lines as a hazard.
The whole AI within itself sometimes makes people nervous. But what we're trying to do is embrace it, use it to our advantage, and in turn, it makes our jobs a little bit easier because we're finding things with the AI use that we didn't anticipate before.
More employees will get to test the tool in 2026.
I want to thank Robin and his team for, I know I saw Robin around there earlier, but there he is, sticking his head in. Thank Robin and his team for driving innovation, for looking for a way for a practical application of this. Glad to see we're starting to get positive results and hopefully see that spread across the agency. And also on the safety front, I want to talk about Work Zone Safety Awareness Week, which is April 20th to 24th. Which is an important, hopefully we're thinking about work zone safety every week, but this is one way to kind of raise a profile of that and make sure it's an important reminder about safety on our roadways. It's a shared responsibility between all of us. We've got people working, feet away from cars traveling at high rates of speed. It's a very dangerous environment to be working in. They're out there every day, putting themselves in a dangerous situation. April, we'll be pushing out more content and information about safety of the department. I hope you'll take opportunities when you're speaking to your communities and to the public to make sure you're highlighting work zone safety and obviously modeling work zone safety as you're traveling through work zones. A couple departmental updates. A lot of you might have seen an email that went out about the offices.
We're going to take a little bit of a break here from the monthly NCDOT meeting. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9:55 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Kind of quiet on the national front, so we're going to cover NCDOT's monthly board meeting. They have a number of speakers covering all of our counties in the Tar Heel State. We continue to listen in on Live Impact News.
Agenda items C, D, E, H, and L are delegated to the secretary and therefore require no formal action by the board. And also with respect to item C, all projects were awarded by the secretary to the low bidder. So now it's time to vote on the project items, and I will first ask if anybody has any recusals. Landon?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to refer to my form for my recusals.
Thank you. Any others? All right, I've also got a few. I'm sorry, got somebody online? Did I hear somebody online? Or is that an echo? All right.
It's like Graham, Mr. Bennett, I think.
Graham, you got some? Are you?
Mr. Chairman, I'm in good shape.
Okay. I have a few, and I've submitted my forms, and will spare you all a recitation of all that, and just incorporate it by reference. So it's time to vote, and if there are any questions or areas of discussion about any of the project items before we vote? All right, then I'll accept a motion to approve the project list.
Second.
Moved by Stephen, seconded by Megan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Just a couple other housekeeping items. There's an HR organizational summary handout at your place. During yesterday's workforce meeting, Amanda Olive provided an HR unit overview and distributed a summary, which includes a brief description and contact information for all the various HR sections. And
Please utilize this as a reference tool. Thanks. Our next meeting, we will be traveling to Division 1, and Board Member Tess has been working hard, as has Ronnie Sawyer, on that. And we're excited about that and looking forward to that. The May board meeting will be held at the Coastal Studies Institute on May 7th. The governance team is going to be emailing a detailed itinerary in the next couple weeks to all of us. The next time we're back here in the highway building will be our June meeting, June 3rd and 4th. And there will be the usual survey coming soon to confirm your attendance, hotel, etc. Any other items for the good of the order before we adjourn? All right, hearing none, then I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mitchell, seconded by Mathis. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. We are adjourned.
All right. Go back.
All right, just after 10 o'clock here on a Thursday morning, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. If you missed yesterday's Artemis II launch from Cape Canaveral, site to be had. This is a historic site sending 4 astronauts across or around the moon and paving the way for future missions and eventually landing back on the moon in 2028, and then perhaps putting those first footsteps down to develop what we can do and land on Mars. But anyway, there was a press conference held yesterday right after the launch. So if you missed that, we're going to play that portion for you now here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
We do know that the time of ignition has been updated from the pad. This is the predicted time of ignition and trajectory that was uploaded to the crew prior to liftoff. The current time of ignition is 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 9 seconds of mission elapsed time. The duration of the burn at the pad was 17 minutes 52 seconds. Ahead of the execution of the burn, any changes in that duration will be reported to the crew and uploaded to ensure that the apogee raise burn goes as expected and puts them on the predicted trajectory. That trajectory being 43,730 miles by 0 statute mile orbit. This high Earth orbit will take the crew of Integrity past the tracking and data relay satellites that are positioned about 23,000 miles away from the Earth. Again, they're currently on TDRS West. And they will transition to the Deep Space Network. The apogee raise burn time of ignition again at 1 hour 46 minutes and 9 seconds of mission elapsed time. That is expected and will occur during the post-launch press briefing. So as part of our 24/7 coverage, the briefing itself will overlap with that particular milestone. To follow along on our 24/7 coverage, we won't necessarily stop our coverage. The clean Orion to Earth loops will be available on our clean feed that will show a view similar to what you're seeing now. This is a view from the solar array wings, and you'll also hear the communications between Capcom's Stan Love here and the crew aboard Integrity, and you can listen as they confirm the execution of the burn and any changes of the burn. When we come back from the press conference, expected about around 8:05 p.m. Central Time, 9:05 p.m. Eastern, we'll go ahead and recap any of the milestones that occurred while we transitioned to the press briefing to answer the questions that come from the press, and continue along on our 24/7 coverage.
Integrity, AMT high.
AMT high. On time, passing 30 seconds into the flights. Integrity passes the alternate BECO target milestone. Mission Control Houston seeing good performance on the 4 main engines. Space Launch System core stage. Integrity, 3 miles in altitude. Traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour.
Good evening and welcome to NASA's Artemis II post-launch news conference. I'm Bethany Stevens, Senior Advisor and Press Secretary, and I will be your moderator today. I am joined by Administrator Jared Isaacman, Associate Administrator Amit Kshatriya, Acting Associate Administrator for the Exploration System Development Mission Directorate, Dr. Lori Glaze, and Director of Flight Operations, Norm Knight. Administrator Isaacman will give opening remarks, and then we will open the floor to questions. If you are dialing in to be with us here today, please press *1 to get in the queue. And with that, Administrator.
Thanks, Bethany. Good evening, everyone. So today, April 1st, 2026, 6:35 p.m., NASA's Space Launch System rocket lifted off the pad with 8.8 million pounds of thrust, carrying the Orion spacecraft and the Artemis II crew out to Earth orbit and beginning America's grand return to the moon. Now, about 51 minutes into the flight, during a planned handover between satellites, the Orion spacecraft underwent a communications issue, leading to a temporary partial loss of comms. The uplink from Capcom to the crew was being heard by the crew, but we cannot hear their responses for a brief period of time. There were no issues with the vehicle itself. Comms with the crew have been restored. We're actively working the issue, and we'll keep you informed. The Orion spacecraft has successfully separated from the core stage, and its solar arrays have been deployed as planned. Soon the crew will execute the apogee raise burn, placing the spacecraft into a stable, high Earth orbit as we prepare for the translunar injection and the journey into cislunar space. NASA astronauts Commander Reed Wiseman, Pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialist Christina Koch, and Canadian Space Agency Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen are safe, they're secure, and they're in great spirits. We will continue to monitor their health and the status as we move into the next phase of the Artemis II mission. So after a brief 54-year intermission, NASA is back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon. We have arrived at this point through a sustained effort, a national commitment, and the work of thousands across the agency, our industry partners, and our international allies. I want to personally thank the ground crews, pad controllers, the entire workforce here at Kennedy Space Center. This mission belongs as much to you as it does to the crew. The crew is now in the capable hands of Mission Control Houston, the Johnson Space Center, where teams will guide Orion through each phase of the mission with the same discipline and precision that has brought us to this moment. We have certainly been here before. We know the challenges ahead. We have a lot of checkouts to get through before TLI. And when, if all goes well, everything is go, Artemis II will be moonbound. You have our commitment to keep the public as informed as possible on this historic mission. And we will celebrate when we will hold our celebration until this crew is under parachutes and splashes down off the west coast of the United States. Thank you.
So with that, we will open this up to questions, and we will start here in the room if we have any takers. We'll start right up here.
Congratulations to all of you on a successful launch so far. My name is Jim Siegel. I'm with Florida Media Now, and I'm curious about when the astronauts will have their first meal on this mission. And secondly, is somebody on the Earth here, back in Houston or somewhere, keeping track of what they eat during this entire mission, and how do they go about doing that? Do they tell them what to eat, or do they kind of select what they want? What do you think?
Well, let's see. I'll jump in on this one. Well, what I'll tell you is they do have planned meals, okay? So they have a planned meal today. I will tell you they're very busy. So Ascent Day is very tough. It's tough physiologically, and it's tough from a workload issue as well. And so this timeline between now when the crew goes to sleep, so MET of about 8:30 is pretty packed. They're going to snack. They probably have some pre-positioned meals. I know they did in their flight suit. Some of the snacks that they can use if they need. But I will also tell you that Flight Day 1 and Flight Day 2, you might not feel like eating a lot. And that's just part of it. Your body is acclimating to 0G. Your physiology is transitioning from a 1G environment to 0G. And it takes a little bit of adapting. So right now they're working hard. They are doing what they need to do. They sound great on the loops. That was really a good signal to us that they're feeling well. But just know that that's part of the equation, when they get on orbit. As far as the food being tracked, yes, we have a food lab, and we have folks at the Johnson Space Center tracking what they eat, the nutrition, the calories. It makes a difference. They do this on Artemis. They do it on Space Station as well. So we're well versed in that. We want to make sure that they're healthy, and we also want to make sure we know what they're doing, what they're eating, so we can also track that and make sure that they don't need any supplements or anything additional.
Thank you.
We'll head over to Joey.
Thanks, guys, and congrats on a clean launch so far. Jared, or whoever wants to answer, how were you able to resolve the communications issue, and do you have any guesses as to what might have caused that? And was there any part of the mission so far that appeared off nominal, or is everything looking good? Just curious to hear how things are going on that. Thanks.
Well, on the comms issue, and I don't know, there may be someone here that has a little more detail than I do of having to run around quite a bit, but I think they're still looking into trying to really understand exactly what was going on there. But it's restored, which is important. I think it just.
It was during handover to Tedros West. Sometimes that's squirrely ground configuration. You gotta get that right. So hopefully that's what it is. But we'll chase it down. But they were able to recover. They had intermittent forward and return links, so the burns that they needed on board it was never an issue. It was unusual for it to be dropped out for a couple minutes. So that's what we're telling you.
Any other off-nominal?
We had a controller issue with the toilet when they spun it up, so we got to work through that. That's going to take maybe a few hours to troubleshoot. So there was also a water tank valve. There's 4 water tanks on Orion. There's a crossover valve that connects the 2 gangs of tanks. It's supposed to be open to ensure maximum flow. It was closed during ascent. You know, when you shake the thing, things like that happen. So they're going to reset the valve. And then they had a recurrence of on Artemis 1, we had a latching current limiter failure on a piece of electronics, a transient failure when it gets exposed to radiation. They took 1 hit of those. We took about 24, 25 of those during Artemis 1. Again, normal, the onboard fault detection cleans that up, but we're just getting started, Joey.
Right, this is a flight test, and a lot of what we're doing here is exactly this, trying to test out all of the things that require the crew interaction, right? And so we anticipate to have a lot of these. Well, that's what we're here for, work through them.
Sawyer.
Importantly, apogee rays burn. We're go. So they're going to stay in space.
Sawyer.
Thank you, Sawyer Rosenstein, NSF. I noticed that the slide wire baskets happened to deploy during launch. Was that something that was expected? And can you give any initial reports, at least what you've seen from the cameras, of how the mobile launcher is doing, given the hope to be able to quickly turn it around?
Yeah,
Do you have something on the baskets? I can talk about the turnaround.
The baskets they're supposed to get out of the way. That's part of the plan. So otherwise they take plume loads, and we don't like that.
So I can tell you on the mobile launcher, our team has already been looking at a lot of the imagery that we have that was taken both during and after, and assessing that, trying to get the condition. We've got teams, I believe, going out there. They might already be out on their way to take a real look. Some of the good things that we've seen relative to Artemis 1, one of the issues we had was that the water that was supposed to be spraying down the launch pad, so that there were some issues there that didn't happen. We saw a lot of corrosion. The water was working, so things were getting washed down. We're still also going to remove some of the parts so that we can do some of that cleaning to make sure we don't have those corrosion issues. We haven't seen evidence of things like after Artemis 1, like the elevator doors were blown off. We haven't seen that. We're optimistic, but we got to get out to the pad. We got to look. We did a lot of changes after Artemis 1, trying to harden the systems so that we can turn it around faster. We do anticipate there will be some items that'll need to be replaced. It's a pretty violent environment, but we're hopeful that that's minimized, and as soon as we have more information on that, we'll definitely let you guys know where we stand and how quickly we think we can get it turned around. Thanks.
All right, you're watching the post press conference and briefing after Artemis 2 launched last night. This is all from yesterday, so we're just playing this back to you for today. And this morning, we're going to take a quick break on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back here now at 10:17 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We'll get you back and continue the briefing after yesterday's launch of Artemis 2 with the folks at NASA.
Lauren Gresh with Bloomberg. I just wanted to get a gut check on how we're feeling about the upcoming proximity and ops operation. Do we have any concerns with that TDRS delay, or is that not an issue for that?
I would say right now we're on for the proximity operations demo. Haven't heard anything that's keeping us from that, Norm?
No. On track, ready to go. Victor Glover's going to be flying it. Reed's going to be working the procedure with him. And cross-checking, and Jeremy and Christina are going to be looking out the windows, also spotting, cross-checking, using cameras and imagery, and it should be beautiful, so we can't wait.
We'll go right over here.
Yes, Bert Dicht from Ad Astra Magazine, National Space Society. Just wondering if the astronauts reported what the ride was like to orbit. I know with the space shuttle, it was a pretty rough ride until there was SRB SEP. Was this similar?
Have you heard?
I have not heard a report yet. I know we will get a report. Again,
yes.
when MECO happened, immediately they were getting prepped to do their perigee raise maneuver. That's critical. Otherwise, they come back to Earth, which we don't want them to. So they got that. They are working to get their spacesuits off. They're, they just got the ARB burn, which was very important. So now they're working to get their suits off. So they are very busy. Now later today, I anticipate they will call down and give us a full brief as to how the ProxOx demo went, how the ride uphill went, and I personally can't wait to hear the comparison between this massive rocket and the shuttle.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Micah.
Thanks, Bethany. Micah Maidenberg, Wall Street Journal. Maybe for the administrator, I'd like to ask you, I know we're early on here, how you're thinking about success for this mission, defining success, a lot of tests ahead, and just what happens if you don't kind of meet that standard as the flight unfolds? Thanks so much.
Well, I mean, to me, success is undershoots in the water safely after a 10-day mission duration. So no early off ramps there. I think we're, right now we're already getting good ECLIS data. We've never flown Orion with crew on board, so that's pretty important. I mean, understanding the Orion spacecraft is, is paramount in this one to progress on to integrated operations of Orion with a lander. Every day we're getting data. It says, it was mentioned from the get-go, this is a test mission for sure. No crew have ever ridden this before. We'll keep gathering data over the next 10 days. We'll share updates, but we'll call success when they're in the water safely. And we'll start working on the next mission.
Jackie.
Hi, right here. Sorry if I missed it. I just wanted to check in on the status of the perigee and apogee burns. Are those both finished at this point? And then I also wanted to check how the best way to explain to the audience why we're doing that apogee raise maneuver and why we go into that high Earth orbit. Thanks so much.
Do you want to take that? I mean, I can certainly say we completed the perigee raise maneuver. That was done pretty quickly, as you heard, and the apogee raise burn should have already happened. That should have been happening while we sat here. They were getting ready as we were walking in. And then if you want to talk maybe about the rest.
So we go into a high Earth orbit. Roughly, the perigee is about 1,000 nautical miles, rough, give or take, of the Earth, 25,000. So it's pretty elliptical. That's getting us, everything we do is getting us set up for the translunar injection burn. And so it's getting these burns. It's all converging down to what we call TLI. So we got to get the ECLIS system checked out. We got to make sure we have our redundancy. We got to make sure these burns go off where they should go off, and get Orion and the SM configured exactly where it needs to be. So when it comes around, and it's time for the translunar injection burn, off we go, and that takes us really, that puts us outbound to the moon. That's a real big commit point, and so you'll be hearing more about that tomorrow.
You might mention it not only sends us outbound to the moon, but it also sets us up for the gravity assist that brings us back. So we are set all the way.
Yes.
Once we make that burn.
Go right back here.
Hi, TJ Mosquera with the Epoch Times. Thank you all so much. Something that hasn't been really talked about is that the Space Launch System predates the Artemis program, going all the way back to 2011. So 15 years really invested in this. And just how does it feel to finally see it launch with the human crew on board?
Yeah, I mean, right now, like I said, we're focused on the next 10 days. But I mean, I'll tell you, I'm incredibly proud of the folks that worked on this machine for as long as they did. And one thing we didn't talk about earlier was, that one of the big objectives is getting the organization and getting our qualification standards and getting our certification rigor up to the standard for crewed flight. That's a big, even though the mission is a complicated mission, moving the entire organization to a mindset of thinking about risk in the right way to fly crew is a big deal, and making sure that the way we've gotten the machine configured to fly crew with the resilience and the reliability we care about is also a big deal. So it takes time. I mean, we got a lot in front of us, but I mean, it's for the guys that were out there, there's a big celebration in launch control for the rocket guys. The rocket guys can go out and play now, but the spacecraft guys got a lot of homework, so they're going to go work on that. But yeah, for them, I can see it on their faces.
Jeff.
Jeff Faust of Space News. During the countdown, we heard controllers working through a few issues, one with the flight termination system, one with the launch abort system battery, and it sounded like there was a brief telemetry dropout. Wonder if you could provide a little bit more details about those issues and how you resolved them relatively quickly.
Yeah, so Jeff, the FTS issue was we were doing an end-to-end test. We typically have to confirm that we can get a signal from the range to the machine and then back. We weren't able to close that entire end-to-end loop. But the guys at the range, they were really quick on their feet. They swapped to a different range receiver, which is a slightly different heritage, but has the same fundamental algorithms on it, and they were able to switch over to that and able to confirm a good end-to-end signal, which is really clever. We had thought about getting a receive-only box that we had in the VAB and shipping that over to Patrick quickly so they could do it, but they were able to fix it on the fly over there, so that was good. And once we knew we could confirm the end-to-end loop of that command, then we didn't need that receive. We don't need to do that test more than once. We just need to verify the commands get on board. And so once we confirmed that command was there, then that we met all of our public safety risk. For the launch abort system, we had a battery, so 2 batteries, several temperature sensors on both batteries. We had one poke out of family. We want to make sure all of them are tracking within certain limits, but we could confirm, given the locations of the temperature sensors, where they are on the battery itself, that the reading was instrumentation, because there wasn't a credible physics-based explanation for why that sensor would be that far high. It was an order of magnitude off scale high from the rest, and so we were able to quickly vote that sensor out. So that was two of the major issues. But again, the team, this is what the training is for. This is what the practice is for, is to go into those things and knock them out quickly. So they did really well.
We'll go right over here.
Thank you. Charles Holcomb from Westchester County. I noticed there was a lack of public address announcing outside, and there was a lot of going back and forth when we realized there were some issues, and we had to go back inside to find out, or we had to have our phones. Why was there no public address system available with loudspeakers outside?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. We're not sure what issue you're talking about the public address. Okay.
There was no information at all available to people outdoors, and I thought that was a lacking. Which
we'll take a look into that. We'll definitely look into that. I wasn't aware that happened. So thank you for that information. That's new, and we'll definitely look into it.
We'll go right back here.
Thomas Moore, Sky News. Administrator Isaacman, as a fellow astronaut, what were your feelings watching your crew rise?
We're going to get back to that fellow's question here after a 2-minute break on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back here at 10:29 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So we'll get you back out to the Artemis II mission debrief that happened last night after the launch, where the experts are taking questions from the media as we go to this now if you missed it last night on WCNC Plus.
Astronaut, what were your feelings watching your crew rising above pad 39B, and do you feel that extra sense of responsibility for the crew as they head further into space?
I certainly felt that it would be, just from, I guess, my perspective in it, that I don't know, it is far less stressful to be strapped into the rocket than to be responsible for it here on Earth. So I definitely had those feelings quite a bit. But, you derive a lot of confidence from the process that leads up to this moment. I mean, literally the army of people that came together across NASA, all our contractors, all our partners to prepare for this, every step that leads up to it. This is what I, was really honestly going through my mind through it, is all the testing that goes into it, the integrated testing, the flight readiness review, everything that goes into a flight readiness review. Not to mention you have a truly exceptional crew up there that have been training for years on this. That gives you the confidence to undertake this mission, especially knowing the implications that it is part of a much bigger program. This is America and our partners' return to the moon, and we're trying to do it this time to stay. So, incredibly important mission. Certainly felt the pressure of it, but it was relieved, based on the confidence we have in the team here at NASA and everyone who contributes to it. Thank you for the question.
We'll come right up here.
Frederic Castel with France 24. First, of course, congratulations to NASA for the grand return to the moon. Mr. Administrator, I have this question that they ask me constantly in Europe and in the States. In the 60s, NASA was using just the slide rule to go to the moon, and they could launch almost every 3 months. Of course, they had more money probably, but what happened in 50 years? Why is it so difficult to make it again? What has changed? Thank you.
Well, for sure, we knew. Look, it's a very fair question. I know a lot of people ask it, not just in your country, but here in the United States. Certainly, financial resources are part of the equation. NASA's budget, if I recall, was somewhere between 4 and 4.5% of the discretionary budget during the space race. About a quarter percentage of that today. And I mean, to be very honest with you, I think competition is a factor in this as well. It's a great way to mobilize the resources of a nation and concentrate on something extremely challenging, and that's what we did in the 1960s. And I think with absent some competition, we focused a lot on partnerships and all that we could do collectively with respect to science and discovery. But competition can be a good thing, and we certainly have competition now. I think that's why you're seeing us start to concentrate our resources back to the objective, and do it with a great coalition across the NASA workforce, our contractors, all our partners that have come together, our stakeholders in Congress and the administration who came here to witness this launch, is because they know we have competition, and this one's going to be close. And I think as a result, you're going to see a lot more progress, more so than you have in since when this was originally conceived under Constellation. We're going to get back into the business of launching rockets on a regular cadence, and we're going to bring the world along with us. So.
We're going to take a couple of phone bridge questions for just a moment. Reminder that you can join by pressing *1 to get into the queue. We're going to start with Will Robinson-Smith from Spaceflight Now.
Hi, thank you, Bethany, and congratulations, everyone, on a good mission so far. Question about the upcoming TLI burn tomorrow. At what point during the day will the team conduct a poll on readiness to proceed into the TLI, and what are the main criteria that you'll be assessing to make that final determination? Thank you.
Okay, well, the TLI burn actually happens about the time that launch happens, so it's 1 day into the mission. So tomorrow, Eastern time would be about 6:35-ish. Obviously, those burn times can change, so check that before tomorrow. But what are the teams looking for before TLI? We're looking to make sure that the life support systems work, that the vehicle's healthy, the life support systems have been checked out, they're ready to go. We assure that those are functional because once we commit to TLI, they have to function. And so we want to make sure. So that's why we spend a day checking out the systems. Ascent is, you shake, rattle, and roll a little bit, the vehicle. You saw that today. And you can imagine what that does to the systems. The systems, though, are performing very well. We anticipate that they continue to, but we want to get some track record on them before we do that. We also want to make sure we have redundancy in the system for COM, for environmental life support, propulsion, those type things before we embark on that TLI mission. So that's what the mission control team in Houston will be doing tomorrow. Jeff Radigan and his team, as the lead flight director, will be well into that. The teams are well versed on it. They have trained for it. They work very closely in conjunction with the engineering team, the mission evaluation room in Houston, where the engineers that have the intricate knowledge of Orion come together with the operations team, and together they work with the crew to make sure that the vehicle, is doing what we want to and accomplishing the mission objectives that we need to. But it always comes down to crew safety, vehicle safety, and mission objectives in that order.
I might also mention, as those teams are checking out all of those systems, there will also be a meeting of the mission management team that's led by John Honeycutt, whom I think many of you have seen before, and they'll be meeting tomorrow afternoon to hear all of the results from what's happened over the last day in preparation to make the decision on whether or not we proceed with the TLI burn.
We will next go right back here to Manuel.
Thank you so much. Manuel Massanti with Exploración Espacial. I understand that the CubeSats are going to be deployed like 5 hours into the flight. Is there any chance we're going to see live images of the deployment? And then when is the crew, I know they're super busy right now, but when are they going to start using the flywheel machine on its way to the moon when everything is more like...
The second question was to do when they start doing the manual as far as...
Flywheel machine.
Oh, the flywheel machine. Sorry, thank you, the exercise machine.
I guess after the TLI.
I'll do this exercise. Yeah, I'll hand that to you, but I can answer the CubeSats. So the CubeSats are installed in the Orion stage adapter, which is actually a part of the upper stage piece, right? So once Orion separates from the upper stage, we'll do the ProxOps demonstration, right? And then once Orion has cleared and we're away, then they will be deployed. So Orion won't be there to take images of them, and once they are deployed, they each of them have their own plans for being able to communicate back down to Earth to various ground stations. They have their own communication plans, so we'll start to get information back from those individual CubeSats. So that's kind of the plan and the path forward on the CubeSat deployment and what you can expect.
We're going to take one more question from the phone bridge from Christopher Mick of the Hudson Star Observer.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to all the teams thus far. I had a question from an earlier media availability with Jeremy Hansen. He made mention of if the mission launched on April 1st, they would be experiencing a lunar eclipse. And I just want to follow up on that, if that's where that would be happening in the mission timeline, and if there would be any video perchance of that happening, or is that just going to be on the astronauts' photography at the time?
So you may have to answer the question on whether or not there'll be the availability of what kind of real time. I'm not sure what we'll have there, but the crew will get to observe the eclipse. This is pretty unique. It's kind of interesting. It actually doesn't happen when they're out of comm, so they will be having communication during that eclipse time. But during the eclipse, the moon will be blocking the sun. They will be able to see the sun's corona, which is kind of cool. So they've been having a lot of science lessons over the last couple of days to learn about that and the eventuality that we actually launched today. So they're prepared to make those solar observations. It'll be a pretty cool and unique opportunity. I'm sure we'll get some images down at some point. I just don't know if they'll be live.
Tarek.
Thank you very much. Tarek Malik with Space.com for the administrator. There have been a lot of comparisons of Artemis 2 to Apollo 8, a pioneering mission, daring, that sent astronauts on an untested crewed vehicle around the moon. And I'm very curious, given last week's ignition event and how that really laid out an audacious and ambitious plan to really explore the moon in a stepping stone approach way, where you see Artemis 2 in that plan, and basically the importance of riding on this mission before you can make that next step for next year.
So, I mean, no matter, I guess, how you slice it, it's the opening act for sure. I think there are areas where we're clearly combining, Apollo 7, Apollo 8 into a single mission. Which we should be able to do. There has been, to your question earlier, there's been substantial progress, over the last half century. We have tools. We've certainly been there before, so I would expect us to be able to get some, mission efficiencies through. But I would say that what we learn from this, for sure, will inform how we think about Artemis 3. Now, there's certainly big picture objectives in that. We'd like to get the lander together. We'd like to test that out in Earth orbit before we go to the moon with it. But if there are things that we don't see, maybe it is comm-related issues, then we're going to try and fix those, and then we're going to want to validate that on the next mission as well. So, and that should be the idea, right, as we progress forward. I suspect when Artemis 3 comes around, we're going to learn a lot about the integrated operations that we'll want to validate and ensure is rolled into the subsequent missions. But yes, this should be a philosophy that we take across all of the grand efforts that we are pursuing right now, to not necessarily jump to the ultimate desired state, but to build up to it.
I'm going to jump right up here.
Hi, Richard Hollingham, BBC Future. Related to Apollo 8 in a way, really. I just wondered what plans had gone into a new Earthrise image. A lot has gone into the aspirational nature of this mission. Have you a plan? I assume you have a plan. What is the plan?
Oh, go ahead. I do know that the teams have been looking at what the opportunities might look like. They've looked at the different launch dates, and so I know that they're really going to try to make that happen. I can't give you a confirmation on that yet, but stay tuned.
My understanding is they have been equipped with additional camera imagery capturing, equipment. So
we're going to do everything we can to try and make that happen. It'd be awesome.
We're going to go right back here.
Thank you. I'm from a Japanese news agency, Kyodo News. My question is to the administrator. The United States and China are competing over moon development. What significance does today's launch have for the U.S. and NASA? Thank you.
Well, it's certainly an incredibly important step. I mean, this is the first crewed mission into this environment in more than a half century on a rocket that has never flown human beings before, along with a spacecraft. So it's incredibly important because we're going to learn an awful lot from this to inform subsequent missions. So yes, this is the beginning. I can tell you, having had an opportunity to speak with the Artemis 2 crew after the State of the Union address, we talked a lot about what we wound up sharing with the world at the ignition event about adding additional missions, accelerating production, building out a moon base. I think it was very energizing for the crew because they knew that they were, this is a risky mission for sure. Any type of new test flight mission going in this environment is going to be challenging, and they knew it was building up to something bigger. And I think that it was very helpful for them in that regard. So, and certainly it was very helpful for me to hear their feedback as well. I would suspect a point or two wound up in the ignition event from them. So,
we're going to go back here to the white shirt.
Thanks, Denise Chow with NBC News. I think for Lori or Norm, I'm curious what you anticipate could be some of the biggest challenges over the next few days, whether that's from a spacecraft or system standpoint or crew workload.
I'll jump in. Flight day 1 from a crew workload is pretty tough. Between now and TLI, we're working the crew really hard. In fact, when they go to sleep tonight, they're woken up in the middle of their sleep to do the perigee raise burn, and so Their sleep's disrupted. They're hitting on all cylinders. They may not be feeling well on top of that. So we know that Flight Day 1 and Flight Day 2 up to TLI is really good. We know it drops off then. And so going into this, we trained for that. We did simulations for this. We put the crew in exactly that state. Now, they weren't on orbit. They probably were feeling great. But we got a good gauge, hey, are we working them too hard? And the mission control team is great because they're watching the crew constantly. They're watching their performance. And we also have a crew that's very good at saying, hey, enough's enough. And so together, we will make certain that that we're doing everything in the best interest of meeting the mission objectives, making sure that we're not working the crew so hard that they make mistakes or something of that nature. And again, we work as a collective team going forward. So this is our best opportunity, and they may add more stuff to the timeline before it's all done, and they may take some stuff out if we need to, but we adjust all the time on those things. So that's leading up to TLI. That's probably one of the bigger challenges, making sure we get those done.
And we will wrap things up here on the other side of the break on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 10:47 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, it looks like they're wrapping up last night's press conference recorded after the Artemis II launch. We'll play this last bit for you now on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Hi, Robert Perlman with CollectSpace.com. For the administrator, you mentioned the 53-year hiatus, and in that time, now most of the world's population wasn't alive for Apollo, like I think you and me. And I wonder if you have a sense of, if even this early in the mission, that this has captured the imagination of those people that have never seen anyone go to the moon before, on a world level, on a national level, and how important is it to NASA to capture that support from the public?
Yeah, I've said it many times. I absolutely, I think it's foundational for what we do here at NASA to inspire. It should be a component of every one of our missions. I've talked about, I think after Artemis II, you're going to have more kids that are going to dress up as astronauts for Halloween. We want to inspire and create interest in the next generation to grow up and contribute to this endeavor. Now, how have we done so far in captivating the world's interest in America's return to the moon? I don't know. You have to tell me. We've been rather busy the last couple hours. I would say, and I felt this way going into it, that when we got down to T0, a lot of people would be paying attention. I suspect when some of the imagery starts to maybe come back from the moon, that's gonna further bring people into this story, right? And then we bring them home safely, and we start preparing for again the next chapter in the story. So. I think inspiration is extremely important. I think people, despite some of the commentary up to now, how many people really know we're going around the moon? I'm willing to bet right now a lot of people do, and I think we'll only draw in their interest further as the mission proceeds.
Can we go right here?
Robert Coppinger, British Interplanetary Society Spaceflight Magazine. Commander Wiseman said during the crew news conference in September last year that when they get off the planet, they may only spend 3 or 4 days going around the Earth. What sequence of events would need to happen for that to occur? I was quite surprised to hear him be so specific about such a scenario. I know you all talk about it being a test flight. So what would need to happen for the mission to be curtailed in such a fashion?
I didn't cover the question.
So I think the question had, just confirm, it's kind of hard to hear, but the question is that the commander talked about one of the alternate missions where they maybe would stay in Earth orbit for 3 or 4 or 5 days,
yes,
that sort of thing.
What would need to happen
so
for
one of the scenarios that would have led to that is if for some reason during the launch that the SLS did not quite deliver us to where we needed to be, or the upper stage didn't deliver us to the orbit that we needed to be in. That would have been one of the scenarios. I think that's probably the main scenario that would have ended up in that one of those kind of alternate missions. Yeah. But I don't think we're going to need to worry about that, hopefully. But the other thing is if for some reason we're able to stay, but we're not able to do the TLI burn, we would stay in Earth orbit. So there's a couple of scenarios where that could happen.
We're right back here.
Hi there, Joey Vars with the Gabber for anybody. In the weeks leading up to the launch, we were talking about some of the distance records and altitude records and speed records that would be achieved that were contingent on the specific day and time of launch. I was wondering if we had a better concept of what those might be now that we are successfully off the ground. Thank you.
Norm has that data for you.
Well, based on the predicts right now, assuming all the burns go as planned and the timeline is executed as we think it's going to be, it'll be on flight day 6 at an MET of about, 18 hours, 18 and a half hours. And again, check that as we get closer because burn durations and things like that matter. But that's where we will exceed or beat the Apollo distance record, or at least that's where we believe that's going to happen. So that'll be an exciting day, and we'll stand by to see what transpires.
We're right here.
Hi, I'm Hanju Yang from Kungmin Daily in South Korea. And first of all, congratulations on today's successful launch. And my question is for administrator layer. And this mission also carried a Korean satellite on board. From your perspective, why does a crewed lunar mission like Artemis 2 matter not just for United States, but for the global community?
I think we say often that when we undertake these type of endeavors, we never go alone. We go with our international partners. We have a Canadian Space Agency astronaut that's on board this mission. We are carrying a lot of CubeSats from our Artemis Accords partners, and we are going to continue to do this going forward. JAXA is contributing a pressurized rover, a major contribution to our efforts of having an enduring presence on the lunar surface itself. The Italian Space Agency, just a few days ago, we signed a memorandum of understanding for a habitation module on the surface of the moon, a component of the moon base. And to be honest, it was also a key component to the to the ignition event from last week, half of the Artemis Accord partners were present. We spent a good portion of the second day talking together, recognizing that some of our partners can make contributions like a pressurized rover or a habitation module, and many others are going to work with their academic institutions and universities for science instruments that could wind up on the Phase 1 component to the moon base itself. So, or interesting tech demonstrations. This is something that NASA is extremely proud of, and will continue to do so as we continue to press forward under this program. So,
we're going to do last question here. I'm going to go over to you in the back.
It's Paul Brinkman, Aerospace America. Can you just talk a little bit about the propellant loading this morning? Was it flawless? Were there any leaks detected? Was it a repeat of the wet dress rehearsal? Did you learn anything?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it went extremely well. What I heard this morning, and Amit may have an update from later, but some of the leaks that we'd seen of the hydrogen during the tanking for the hydrogen, we saw leaks below 1%, which was significantly lower. Again, the seals that we replaced seemed to perform extremely well. We did a pressure test kind of partway through, and the leak went up to about 1.4%. Still, well within the constraints, which 16% is the bound that we have. So I think it performed extremely well. We actually, I think, finished the tanking early. From what I understood, so I think it went extremely well. So again, the seals that we had replaced out at the pad after wet dress number 1, I think that was proved to be very successful.
And with that, thank you all for coming out and covering humanity's return to the moon. Stay tuned for updates on NASA's social channels, including our continuous coverage on YouTube and NASA Plus. Go Artemis!
Thank you.
Go Artemis! Yeah! Look at that. Is that nice? All right, folks.
They're up in the sky.
They are up there doing it. I don't know which executive, though, said that it will be success once they hit Earth again back in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we will follow their progress for the next 9 days, and I'm sure we'll hear more from the folks there at Cape Canaveral and all of those smart
talking to NASA
smart
later
people.
today. Brittany's going to be on
right.
here talking to NASA.
That's right. Brittany Van Voorhees will
2:30.
be
Tune
here
in.
at 2:30, Live Impact News, talking to NASA Live. We do that here with all of the great conversations. So we will leave you with Charlotte Today. That is up at 11, followed by WCNC Charlotte Midday. I'll see you back at 4. Have a good day.